Well, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. So we're doing a first-time home buyer seminar here. We usually do in person, trying something different with kind of everything going on. I think everyone knows out there what's going on, so we're adapting to the times.
We're adapted, and just so you know, me and Vinnie are socially distant. We're 6 feet away from each other.
This is the new norm.
The new norm, huh? It's going to make for interesting times, but interesting times present opportunities, right, Vinnie?
Exactly. So if you guys are curious about the buying process, have bought in the past, anything like that, watch our presentation right here. If you have questions, we'll be keeping track of the comments and going from there.
So let's start it off. This is first time home buyer class in a unique market 101. So me and Vinnie are going to go back and forth with talking, and I'm going to start right here with where to start with your home ownership plans. So a lot of things happen when you're going to think about buying a house, but the first thing you need to really look at is your current job. And in this current market, now more than ever, you need to make sure, are you stable at your job? Then you also got to look at your job and go, do I have future growth? Am I still going to be employed in 4 weeks? Is my company going to go out of business? Am I going to get pay increases? You also have to think about, do you contribute now to your 401k? Are you investing in yourself or are you not? You also have to think about, do you have an emergency fund set up? Do you have money put away for vacations for you and your family? And then you got to think about, most importantly too, is what's your ideal monthly mortgage payment? And how are you going to do your down payment? Is it going to be a gift? Did you already save for it? Just things you want to think about. Bear with us so next, you want to think about, how are you going to finance your home? How do you pick a lender? Well, in this day and age now, everyone's heard of the new website. It's called Google. So what I would really suggest is you need to go either first of all, talk to your friends, family, see about a referral, talk to somebody you trust that's had a good experience. And then after that, go to the Wild West internet, Google their name, see what shows up, check out their reviews, check them out on Zillow, check them out on Yelp, check them out on Redfin, see what sort of reviews they have on them, Google reviews. If the person you want to work with has no reviews and they don't exist on the internet, that's not a good sign.
And even so, more so in this market right now, it's a very interesting time where some lenders aren't funding, and the market's so volatile. So one day one rate, next day it could be another rate, and when you lock that rate into when you're in escrow, it can change on a day-to-day basis. You really need someone that's going to have a fairly good understanding of where the market's going, and if they project, hey, let's hold off on a day, 2 days, 3 days of actually locking that rate.
You know what, Vinny, you couldn't have said that even better, because a lot of people think the Fed lowered rates and they went to zero. They didn't. The lending industry is having massive challenging right now. So choosing a good lender is beyond important, because if you choose unwisely, you'll be promised something and then it won't be delivered, and you could potentially lose your deposit, lose the house you like, and the time and frustration. Can't put a price on time and frustration. Okay, now that you have a lender, what's the next steps to secure your home loan? Well, the most important part is we need to look at the last 2 years of your history. So meaning that we're going to look at where have you worked. We're going to look at what has your income done. Has it gone up, gone down? Is it stable? We're going to look at all those things. The other thing is we're going to pull your credit. And unfortunately, everyone out there has looked at their credit score online on freecreditreport.com, Credit Karma. All those scores are not the ones we look at as lenders. Those are basically sites that are designed to show you your FICO score based on a car loan or a credit card. A mortgage is a little bit bigger. So we're going to be pulling the most restrictive scores, which means if you looked at Credit Karma and your score was 740 and then we pull it, it's probably going to be 700. So you really want to have your credit pulled, look at everything for potential problems. And then the final thing is, as a lender, we're going to review everything in twos. 2 years current 2 years tax returns, 2 years W-2s, 2 current pay stubs, because we want to look at everything for you to explore all your options to make sure that we can do the best.
And so when Dave was talking about these ideas of 2 years of W-2s, 2 years of tax returns, everything like that, this is basically the boilerplate, the kind of the box that everyone, they try to push everyone into. Yet each person has a unique situation. Some people own their own business. Other people, they've only been in a job for 6 months, but they have an agreement in place that they're going to be there for the next couple of years. So each situation is very unique. So if you have a unique situation, don't worry, you possibly could still get approved.
That's very true. The reason why, like what Vinnie mentioned, is we want to look at all options, and everyone's case is different. Just like your fingerprint is different, your loan is different for everyone, and we want to make sure we do the best we can to find the best. Now that your lender's reviewed everything, we're going to share the goals. So why is this important? We need to share this with Vinnie because he needs to also know what's going to be most important, and he also knows the parameters for you, meaning, you know, what's the monthly payment you really want to stay in? What's the location? You know, what's going to be more important to you? Is it the appreciation of the home? Is it the future rental value of the home? All these different things we're end up sharing, me and Vinnie, together, because we need to know what's most important for you with the house, but then we also need to know what's most important to you about the loan. And each one of those things is different, as you can see on the screen. It's down payment, monthly payment, location, interest rate. Or is the lowest cost of the loan most important to you? Or is the lowest cost to close on the home? It's a lot of different things that will fly around in the air very fast, because once you start looking at homes with Vinnie, that's exciting. The lending side is pretty boring and monotonous, but we want to make sure we're all on the same page so that we can all work together as a team to make this happen for you the right way.
And one thing we're going to be talking about more so, we're going to talk about this pretty frequently, is the idea that there's a difference between what you can qualify for compared to what you feel comfortable paying. And that's a very big difference, and that's something we want to really stress.
Very true, because just because we can give you the loan, if you lived there in 2008, doesn't mean that you should take the loan. Very, very good info. Oh, so for those of you, if you are asleep, yes, that is not the Easter Bunny. That's actually a real rabbit. So we just threw that out there just to make sure you're awake. So why do you do your pre-qualification correctly? A lot of people just want to go jump in the car, not right now with Vinnie because he has to socially distance you, but they want to get in the car, they want to go look at property, and if you don't get pre-qualified correctly, you're going to be one of the horror stories to where your loan went bad. Or the lender is going to say, we need more items. Or you're going to say, oh my gosh, this takes forever. Or the lender says, I'm sorry, Mr. Daffy Duck, you need more money. Or at 3 weeks in escrow, your loan doesn't meet guidelines. You need a cosigner. Loan costs just went up. You need to pay this off. You can talk to some of your friends. You'll probably notice this probably happened to one of them because the lender did their job wrong. You really want to qualify correctly by doing the correct steps so that you're not one of these victims. You want to have a good time. You don't want to, mythically chase a house.
So the analogy I use all the time is the idea that you have the attorney, you have basically the assistant, and then you have basically the judge. The judge is the underwriter, and David is like the attorney, and the prosecutor is just like his assistant. They're trying to build a case of why you deserve to be able to purchase the property. And so if he doesn't have all the facts, all the information, he can't build the case to show why you should be able to deserve this property and the best rate possible.
And with Vinnie's analogy, for those of you who are self-employed, that's crucial what he just mentioned, because I'm looking to build a case to help you to be able to get the loan to where let's say you're self-employed, your taxes don't show the true story because you're in business for yourself and you write everything off. We want to present a case to go, look, this person does qualify. These are the factors. These are the reasons why. And there's a lot of you out there that does come into play. And it's crucial because you want to buy a home, but you also don't want to pay all your money in taxes. So we totally understand you self-employed borrowers, and we're looking to help you out. Well, there's many different types of loans out there. So if you listen to the radio or you watch the news or you look in the paper, you're going to pretty much see one thing: 30-year fix, 2%, or 30-year fix, 2.99. You're going to see everything just one number. The reality of it is there's a lot of different loans out there, and each one's is different for each person. So there's a couple loans that we usually start with. We have FHA, conventional, VA, jumbo, and then there's construction loans as well. But everyone's situation is different. So you have to look at it and go, if you have a minimum down payment and your credit's not perfect, FHA is probably a better loan for you. If you're doing conventional financing, that's usually for people with 5% or 10% down. Also a good loan. VA is the best loan in the business. It's 0% down. You're not putting any money down. And now there's no limit on it. It's amazing. And then jumbo's a different animal. And right now in the current environment, I'm going to mention this, Vinnie, because Pony right in the beginning is a lot of lenders used to go down to 580, used to go down to 620, and they've all increased their FICO scores to like 640, 660. And now before, where we had ittle bitty reserves required, we're now asking for a little bit bigger, which is changing the market. So really things you want to think about. We want to look at all the loan options. We want to make sure we find the best one for you. And we don't know this unless we do your pre-qualification correctly.
And maybe you guys don't have VA capability. There are other loans out there that even can assist you with less than 3%. So it's, again, very unique situations. Talking to David, he can kind of walk you through to see if one of those unique situations would work for you.
Oh, Vinny, you want to talk about this right here? This is super important with a normal market, but we're not in a normal market right now.
Yeah, so one thing you'll see a lot is the idea that what's happened over the next 5 years, that's what's going to happen over the next 5 years. And that's not the case. I mean, yes, history repeats itself. We do have the highs, we do have the lows. I mean, we're getting probably closer to the top of the market than we are to the bottom market. So it's tough to say, okay, if I bought 5 years ago saying that I'm going to get these kind of gains. Yet if you go with the downturn market and go back to the upturn market, the market's always going to be higher than it currently is. So if you can afford those monthly payments, that's the biggest thing. People always ask me all the time, is now the right time to purchase or should I wait? And then the one thing I say is, can you afford those monthly payments? Because if you can afford those monthly payments and the market goes down, it's just like having stock. It doesn't matter what the price is. It only matters when you're looking to sell it. That's when the price really matters.
And with Vinny saying that, unfortunately right now, there's a thing out there on the internet, and they're kind of known as more of a cupcake type realtor. They're pushing everything that you need to buy right now, no matter what. You need to really look at your situation and make sure that what you're doing, buying the home, your income, your job, your assets, is going to help you win in the next 5 years, because it's not the best time to buy for everybody. But for some people right now, the opportunities will be utterly amazing. And if you talk to some of your friends that bought anytime between 2008 and 2010, they bought in a challenging, unique market, and they won really big. Is that guaranteed right now? No, nothing's guaranteed except death and taxes. But buying in an interesting, challenging market right now, your appreciation may be better in this, but please don't believe the hype that everyone needs to buy right now and everything's guaranteed, because it's not.
Yeah, for some people, it's best to hold off, especially if you're trying to get to a certain debt to income. Other people, now could be the time. So it doesn't hurt to have the conversation. It only hurts if you think you know everything.
So what's average closing cost for a home loan? Well, if you want to play it safe, closing costs on average are 2.25% of the purchase price. And that's a pretty easy formula to use, just so you don't get blindsided by finding your dream house and then having your down payment and then going, oh my golly Wally, there's closing costs? The lender never went over this. Yes, there's closing costs. They also vary from month to month because of property taxes. September and October, some of the most expensive months to buy, but yet November, December is a great time to buy during wintertime. So, and then the other thing is your closing costs. Vinny can negotiate those for you, or the lender can credit you. And why don't you talk a little bit about that with the contract, Vinny? Because that's important to understand the closing costs and how your realtor can really help you out.
Yeah. So how you structure the contract can really play big. We're going to get into it farther along with contingencies and stuff like that. But with closing cost credits, so you have your down payment and then you have closing cost credits. With the closing cost credits, we can put that into the offer. Now, of course, it takes it off of the seller's bottom line. So it really becomes kind of a negotiation. Do we come a little bit higher to offset some of those closing costs? Do we stay at that price based off of where the property sits? So it all becomes negotiable. We really want to assess what the property is worth and how we want to structure the offer.
So next thing, what's very important things to think about when buying the home? Well, when you sit down with me, Vinny, we're both going to ask you similar questions, and you may sit there and go, why are these guys asking the same gosh darn questions? Well, it's because they're really important. And we're working as a team to make sure that we help you succeed so that me and Vinny talk to you 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 7 years from now. You're happy with what you did. You don't want to be that person that didn't choose wisely, and 2 years from now, you're pissed off. So, what's most important? It's how long do you plan on owning this home? If you can't own the home at least 5 years, you probably shouldn't buy. You need to be able to plan on owning the home at least 7 years. It's the best choice, for your long-term gains. And then where you buy is important. It helps with your real estate future value. I mean, talk a little bit about buying in the wrong area, Vinny, and see what can happen.
Yeah, really diving deeper. One thing that we do in our buyers consultations is sit down and kind of walk through the 5 things you're looking for a property. And for the most part, you're probably going to get 3 to 4 of those things. But we dive deeper into kind of figuring out what you're looking for, what your life would make you happy. Is it basically walkability? Is it more of a bigger house? Is it more upgrades? So we can kind of dive deeper into where your price point is going to be and what you're going to be happy with. Going off to the idea, if you can't live in the property for 5 to 7 years, it is so true. Now, some people want to take that risk and go, I'm going to do an interest-only purchase or things like that because I'm going to have a better job in 3 years, 4 years. I mean, for myself, I like to live really safe and go, can you afford the monthly payments? And I go back as much as possible. Can you afford the monthly payments? Not the idea of the monthly payment. I mean, saying that, okay, well, if I don't have Starbucks for 20 days out of the month, I'll be able to make those monthly payments feel comfortable. Actually feel in your pocketbook. So if you're looking to purchase in the next couple of months, a year, 2 years, whatever it might be, and start getting an idea of what that monthly payment is going to feel comfortable for you. And whatever you're paying for rent compared to the monthly payment, offset that difference. Put that rest of it in a savings account. So you can really feel how that monthly payment is. Because again, if the market does go down and you have this property, you'll be able to keep the property, make the monthly payments, and not have to worry about where the market sits. If you hear someone saying, don't worry about it, purchase the property now because all you're going to do is refinance it in 3, 4 years, you might want to second guess that person who's telling you that information.
Yeah, you want to think about their intentions. And what Vinny just said right there is there's a line item 3 right there. It says, does buying a home still allow you to sleep and have a life? That's important. We want you to buy the house if it's right for you, but we also want you to be able to go to sleep at night knowing that you still have money in the bank and that you're comfortable with your investment and that you did all your due diligence to make sure this is smart, because that is so crucial. And then the other thing Vinny mentioned that's super important is you want to invest in your retirement because that's investing in yourself. So if you can barely make your dream mortgage payment, but you can invest in your retirement, that's a recipe for a disaster. Just like I would say, just like when I try to put together something and I don't follow the directions, that's also a recipe for disaster. Ooh, so this is important. I'm going to say some things here just because I think it's easier for me to say this, because unfortunately I have to work with certain types of agents that transactions come on my desk where people chose unwisely. You need to choose a great realtor. I can't stress this enough. Do not choose unwisely. Experience matters. When you're picking your realtor, don't just pick Uncle Billy Bob that just got his license a day ago. Don't just randomly use your brother's, sister's, former cousin's uncle. You need to choose wisely. Why? Because otherwise, if you don't, you'll make a bad purchase. So how can you do this? Check them online. Look up their reviews. If they don't have reviews, they're not doing business. Check their license number. You want to work with someone that has experience. If they're newer to the business, that's fine. They're probably on a team with a good leader that can help them make sure that you win. Does the realtor do this full time is another thing you want to ask yourself. Do they own a home? How many homes do they sell? Experience matters. This is the largest investment of your life, and the realtor is one of the most important components. So please choose wisely. Don't just randomly let someone help you buy a house and help you make a great mistake.
If you follow my personal Facebook, you might have saw that I had a mini rant about this. I had a client that was using a friend, and it didn't work out that well. We were able to help him out find a property. But yeah, it's you really want to dive deeper into who you're working with. I mean, I've seen so many people that have done more research on the phone they're going to purchase compared to the realtor they're going to use. And again, myself, I mean, I'm not maybe the best realtor around. I want to say I'm in that class of realtor.
You're in the top of the class. Don't put yourself down there.
Well, I'm just saying that there's a lot of great realtors out there that I feel like I'm a part of. I'm lucky to be a part of those realtors right there. So just make sure it doesn't necessarily have to be myself or my team. There's so many great realtors out there. Just dive deeper and make sure you're making the right choice. I mean, do a review. I mean, it pains me so many times when I see people that says, when I ask them, I go, who do you decide to work with? And they tell me, and I go, did you look them up? And they go, no, they're my cousin or their relative. And I go, this is one of the biggest purchases you're going to do. Would you basically just purchase a property for doing a friend a favor? So dive deeper. And the best thing about it, yes, Jeannie put it out there. I'm going to put her comment. It doesn't cost you a thing. There's no cost to picking the right buyer's agent to help you purchase the right property.
But there's a massive cost to not choosing the right agent.
That is true. That
The
is true.
cost is very expensive. And Vinnie said he's lucky to be in that area. There's no luck. I'm sorry. There's this thing. It's called hard work. That's what disguises the successful from the unsuccessful. And the realtors that are in the top 20%, that's hard work. The other 80%, they're lucky to be making it. So, choose wisely.
Yeah, dive deeper into whoever you decide to, and especially in a time like this, as the market changes a lot, you're going to see basically one property compared to the next property. I mean, I saw this probably more so maybe the last year or so, is the market was changing, every couple months. And it says that the average realtor is doing about 3 deals a year. Somewhere around there, 2.5, 3 deals, somewhere out there. So think about it this way. If you're only selling, let's say you sold 2 deals at the beginning of the year, right? And now you're basically in December time and you're looking to help someone out, basically buy a property, right? How do you know that current market if the last deal you sold was 8 months ago? You don't have a good understanding of that market. So maybe at that time, properties are being overvalued. And so instead of offering at the asking price, you're able to offer about 5% under there, right? So if you're saving 5%, is that worth the time of spending 5 minutes, 10 minutes to do research on the agent you're going to decide to use?
It's the other analogy I kind of think to make it more simplistic is if you have a bad headache and you go to the doctor and the doctor says, oh, you need brain surgery. And you say, oh, perfect. How many times have you done this? He goes, oh, I do it 3 times a year. Or do you pick the other doctor that goes, oh, I do this 12 times, 18 times, 30 times. I do this all the time. This is what I specialize in. You're going to pick the doctor that specializes in it, not the one that barely does it. I hope that kind of makes it simpler because it's not rocket science, but what we're doing is basically you want to choose the most skilled professional to help you out.
Like we got off on a little tangent right there, but I think you can see our passion.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Making sure to people to do a little research before they decide to work with whoever they decide to work with. But now diving deeper back into you, because that's who's important, diving into the individual looking to purchase, make this real estate transaction possible. So when you're looking to purchase a property, it's these 5 right here: the house size, location, schools, appreciation, and price are probably some of the biggest things that come across. Yes, there's also the idea of upgrades to a property. People like the shiny object. For the majority of people purchasing a property, they're going to say yes or no in probably the first 5-10 seconds of walking into that property if the property talks to them. So the layout of the property really plays a factor too. So I'll kind of put that house size with the layout, with the upgrades, kind of all in that bunch. Now the next one, location. Now walkability can be a huge thing. I mean, in your head, you might say, well, you know what? I just want more land. I want more house. I want everything like that. But then you start thinking about it more and more, and you're like, oh no, I actually like taking a walk to the coffee shop, or I like to be 5 minutes away from my work. So really diving deeper in what's important there. Now, the next one is schools. Figuring out the best school possible for your kids growing up. Now, you don't have kids, maybe you're thinking for the future. Dive deeper into there. Greatschools.org is I think a really good platform for anybody looking to purchase, thinking about purchasing. Greatschools.org. And then appreciation. I mean, it's very difficult to figure out what property is going to appreciate over time. One of the I guess the best indicator is when gentrification is happening to a property, where you have older homes that are getting renovated and then reselling at a higher price. Now that can have a negative connotation, and it brings values up in an area. So for gentrification, the way I look at it is, it's better if you're looking to purchase an area and you see an area where the houses are all right, compared to an area where the houses are kind of falling down. What area do you think is going to be gentrified sooner? Probably the area where the houses are really falling down, especially if it's closer to a good community. So really looking to a so-called good community where the prices are higher, and kind of seeing where the flow is happening, where that gentrification is happening, can really help you out. And then price. It goes back to that original idea about finding out where you feel comfortable, right? Really figuring out where you feel comfortable on that monthly payment. And then that monthly payment will kind of tell us where we want to be on the price point. And then another thing to factor in when you're dealing with that monthly payment and trying to figure out where you feel comfortable, one thing to really factor in based off of the loan you're using, usually it's about, let's say for every $10,000, you're looking at about somewhere around $50, $45, $60 a month more on your payment. And that's really going to flow a little bit. So sometimes people go, well, I'm at 500,000, yet maybe they can get a property at 520, and they go, that's more to what I'm looking for. So really diving deeper with the lender and with the realtor you decide to use.
And then keeping all those factors Vinnie just mentioned, and remember, can you live there the next 5 to 7 years? And the first house you buy, I'm sorry, it's not going to be the castle. It's a gateway to get you further along to potentially getting the castle later, or to building a real estate portfolio for better long-term retirement. You're going to give a little to get a little here, and nothing's perfect.
I just gotta say, I love the knowledge being dropped in the comment section right there. This is a new platform that we're trying out, and it's kind of nice seeing, a question being asked and then someone else kind of throwing in a response. I love the community we're bringing here. So, all right, so what's next after all of that? So you write the offer, purchase price, terms of the offer, fees being split, items to be conveyed, how much is the EMD. So purchase price, not the price that someone's asking for is not necessarily the price that they're going to get. All it is the advertising tool. Sometimes people will price a property $100,000 underneath where they want to get to. Other people, they'll overprice it, and it's actually going to come down. So the purchase price is not necessarily what people are asking and what they're going to accept. So you really want to pull comparables together, or have your realtor pull comparables together to get a better understanding of what the property is actually worth. Now, in terms of the offer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted you to kind of mention something about, sometimes you look on Redfin, Zillow, and you go, oh my gosh, this house is an amazing price. and then they call you and you go, that's not priced right. Could you talk a little bit about the advertising some people do on Redfin and Zillow, the way they price homes, and how you can have them not priced correctly just for certain sorts of traffic being driven?
Yeah, so we saw it. I mean, I think I started seeing a lot more maybe end of last year. You started seeing, because it was slowing down a little bit, and you started seeing people pricing their properties maybe 150,000. There's a one case, I think it was about, it's like 100 and like, I don't know, like 70,000 of where they were really trying to get to. They had the price on the property at like in the sixes, in the mid sixes. They weren't getting offers. They kind of slowly reduced it, and they finally took it off the market and did a drastic reduction down to like 490 or something, with the hope that they were going to get multiple offers, which they did. They got multiple offers. I want to say like 20, 25 offers on the property, with the hope that they were going to get bid back up to about the 650 range. So, I mean, I've seen cases like that just to drive that interest. And sometimes you'll call the people up and they'll try to sway you to use them compared to basically maybe the person that you're already working with. So just be aware that there are those situations out there. It's the market you will usually tell you if you market the property correctly. They'll tell you what the property is actually worth. So even if they price it low, they can kind of work their way back up. Now, going to the term of the offer, generically, we're looking at a 30-day escrow. Yet, to make your offer more enticing, some lenders can actually close quicker. You know, you're looking at 17-day escrows. I think I did a 17-day for a VA loan, which was pretty impressive. So 30 days is the generic timeline, yet based off of the situation, they can go shorter. With everything going on currently with Corona, I mean, you might not want to be as aggressive because there are going to be things out of your control. But this is something to really talk to your lender about and figuring out where you can put the timelines together. Also, to your contingencies, so like your out clauses. The three biggest out clauses are going to be your buyer investigation, the loan, and the appraisal. Generically, they're 17, 21 days. You can shorten those. You can make those longer. The shorter you can make them, the more peace of mind you get to the seller, to the other side. So we can dive a little bit deeper into those if you have any questions about contingencies, anything like that. Fees being split, for the most part, you try to get the seller to pay much of those fees as possible, like the home warranty and things like that. Escrow 50-50 and title usually paid by the seller, but you know, everything's negotiable. And then items to be conveyed. So there's a difference between real property and personal property, and this is where there's a lot of confusion that ends up happening of what conveys. So real property is what conveys in the property, and technically personal property like stoves, refrigerators, stuff like that, when it's affixed to the property, it becomes real property. Yet in there, anything that could be perceived as possible personal property, you write that into the contract. And we've had issues in the past where I've seen other agents, they didn't put in the right items that they really wanted to convey into it, so there becomes an issue later on at the closing. And then lastly, the earnest money deposit. Earnest money deposit is generically 1 to 3%. I see you put down here 5%. I mean, 5% is fairly aggressive, but it's a really an arbitrary number.
That's a strong offer.
Yeah, strong offer, 5%.
Strong offer. They're going gangbusters.
Yeah, but it's an arbitrary number. It's whatever the seller is willing to accept and whatever the buyer is able to put down, and it's protected with your contingencies as you have those in place. So once you remove those, then it becomes an issue of possibly losing your deposit. But yeah, I mean, we've had sometimes for VA offers, especially, where we've had about like 0.5% on the earnest money deposit, and the sellers wouldn't accept it because everything else looked tighter, but they were very cash poor, but their debt to income, everything was fairly good.
You know, there's something I was going to mention. Vinnie brought up about your appraisal, and in our current market right now, this is something we've never seen before. But I'm going to share this with you. Is a lot of appraisers now are not going to the property. So what does that mean to you as the buyer? Well, that means the appraiser is looking on the MLS and looking at the video and the photos, and then driving by the front of the house, and that's how you're getting your appraisal. So that presents opportunity, because if you're working or not, if you come across a certain listing to where the agent didn't do a good job on the video and the photos, chances are it's not going to appraise. That presents opportunity for you. It also, at the same time, looks at it as a different negotiating tool for Vinnie to go more aggressively after different properties, because if there's not going to be a full appraisal done and it's just photos, that's a very gray area. You want to, once again, the value of the realtor doing their job the best that they can is major. And right now, a lot of opportunity on that with listing agents. Some will not do a good job and be lazy, and that's opportunity for you as a buyer.
So, I mean, going into this, and it might be another slide, but so there's sometimes confusion that I'll get from clients, the idea of what the appraisal does compared to the home inspection. So the appraisal wants to make sure the property is worth what you're in contract for. Also, they want to make sure that the property has livability standards that's called out by that loan type. So VA, FHA, conventional have different livability standards, but they want to make sure that you're protected, make sure their assets are protected. The home inspection dives deeper into the actual property and sees all the warts on the house, because reality is no property is perfect. You just want to make sure the property is perfect for you. So that's what the home inspection is going to do. They're going to dissect the property and see kind of what warts are there and how you feel with that, and if there are anything big on there, then you can dive deeper into it and make that negotiation with the seller, take care of, or back out.
That is the first time I've ever heard you say warts on a property. Holy cow! Wow, great visual. Hats off, Vinnie. That was good.
All right, let's
see. All right, your offer. So what happens with your offer? Vinnie writes your offer. Boom, it gets accepted. And what happens now? Vinnie, you got the offer accepted. It's open escrow. What's the next steps?
So you open up escrow. Now, again, there's confusion that can happen. Escrow in California is a time frame, and it's also an entity, right? So it's a third-party entity that oversees the process. So the contract that was put together, they want to make sure that contract is followed throughout the time frame. Okay, so that escrow company, they're going to be requesting a deposit from you, that earnest money deposit, and then the seller is basically putting their property in there. And now, as long as the time frames are met by the buyer, the seller is not able to back out. Okay, and in this escrow, that's when those contingencies that we talked about start to play out. Generically, for that earnest money deposit and to jump back, it's usually about 3 days. So you have 3 days to put that deposit into escrow.
If you want a simplistic thing of what escrow, how do they play? For those of you who know what poker is and know what the game is or heard of it, there's a dealer. The dealer is neutral party. He deals the cards, but he's not the one gambling. Escrow is essentially the dealer in a transaction. They're making sure that the lender is playing on the right terms, the realtors are playing on the right terms, the contract's on the right terms, and all the money is distributed equally and balanced per the contract. They're the neutral third party to make sure that everyone stays in line.
Man, I haven't played poker for a moment. I might try one of those online games next couple of days. Anybody watch right here playing online poker, maybe direct message me. That'd be kind of fun to get into.
I still need to learn how to play better.
Yeah. So escrow is open. Instructions are issued for the wiring EMD. And there's a lot of scams out there. So you're going to be very sure that the company, escrow company that you're wiring to is the correct one. You can, for the initial earnest money deposit, drop off a check for most escrow companies. So if you're able to do that, you're able to drop it off. You can drop it off. If you're going to wire the money, again, you want to confirm that you're dealing with actual escrow company. The lender is going to request fees from escrow, so they're going to get a breakdown of what's going to occur during that process and what kind of fees the buyer would be paying on. The realtor, myself, what we usually do is we give a suggestion on a home inspector we've used. Some clients, they request basically 2 inspectors where they can feel who they feel more comfortable with. Other people, they'll have their own home inspector that they want to work with. So we'll help set that inspection up. During the inspection, what's going to happen is that inspector is going to just dive deep in the property like we already talked about and kind of assess what's going on just to make you fully aware. Now, based off the property, you can get specialists that will do scoping on the property, or they're going to do foundation on the property, dissect the roof, dissect those specialty items right there. The general inspector is going to do a general overview, but a specialist is going to dive deeper in that. So based off of the property, you might need a specialist. The lender is going to order the appraisal, and again, the appraisal, they're going to confirm the value. They're also going to assess the property that it meets livability standards, and then escrow is going to send a package to fill out. Also, too, during that time frame, you're going to get disclosures from the seller about what they know about the property. Now, kind of a thing I say fairly often is when you start the process, you're usually looking at about maybe 20-some pages. When you actually get into escrow with all the documentation, it's probably going to jump up to like another 100 and so pages. So maybe 120, 130. There's a lot of documents out there. Don't be overwhelmed. Walk through the stuff. Most of the items that are in the escrow documents are what was in the original offer, just more in broken down terms.
And your realtor and lender will help you with this too. So don't, when Vinnie said 100 pages, don't feel overwhelmed by that. The realtor's there to help you. The lender's there to help you. Everyone's there to help you. Sometimes the escrow company will do a great job. Sometimes they will not and not explain everything. But our job is to help explain everything to you. So there's no dumb question. It's dumb not to ask while this is going on. So please keep that in mind. Ooh,
So, okay.
What to expect while the loan is going on? Well, you did your home inspection with Vinnie. You're going to look at different repairs or requests that you want to have formulated. You're going to make requests for repairs. You're going to see what can be negotiated. You may look at price negotiations. You may do further tests of mold, termites, water, plumbing. A lot of other things will be done by Vinnie while the whole loan side's going on. And that comes down to making sure that you have an expert realtor that knows these different things to look for you. Because if you don't, could be a major mistake.
Yeah, so there becomes two negotiations that happen. There's the first negotiation of the price, the terms, the initial offer. Once you actually find the property and you do your inspection of the property, again, no property is perfect. You want to make sure the property is perfect for you. There's going to be things that are come about. And so that's where you can ask the other side, hey, we want you to take care of this. And they can say, no, we won't take care of that. Or maybe we'll give you a credit, or we won't do this. And it becomes a second negotiation. Now, you can't agree to the terms. You can back out, get that deposit back. But yeah, it becomes a second negotiation. Mold, termite, water, plumbing, all those kind of specialists can have the property. For the most part, the general home inspector and termite is usually what's done for the property.
Ooh, well, here's the loan side. The loan side, I'm going to go through this kind of fast because we don't want to keep you guys on this seminar forever. The loan side, basically, your file is started. We're going to request fees from title and escrow. We're going to disclose them to you within 3 days. You got to sign the forms. Then it goes into the next step, which is called loan processing. This is where we ask for a lot of different documents from you to finalize the big picture. It's almost like a puzzle. We collected the initial puzzle pieces in the beginning to make sure your loan fit guidelines and fit in the box and was the best choice for you. But later on, we have to fine tune all the puzzle pieces to make the correct picture for you. So that's processing. Then your loan, the processing part will probably take, let's just say 5 to 7 days. And then your loan goes to underwriting, which is like what Vinnie mentioned. It's where the judge, the underwriter, is going to look at the file and make sure the lender correctly followed all the guidelines to make sure your loan works. Once your loan's underwritten and approved, you get issued a couple final loan conditions. As long as the lender did their job correctly, the lender will request those from you. That's going to probably put you around day 12, which means you'll be ahead of schedule. For usually your contingencies are around 14 to 17 days in a normal market. This is a little bit more unique. And then after the final approval, all the conditions are sent in, we give you a closing disclosure. This is really important. For those of you who use the website Google, you can Google closing disclosure. That's what protects you and gives you all the numbers again to show you where all the money is going and all the costs and the payment, everything broken down very simple. And it gives you a 3-day waiting period to either back out or change things. After the 3-day waiting period, you sign your final loan docs, and that's it. Boom, loan's funded. You have the keys, and put you into another step of life, another investment.
One thing I wanted to throw out, if you Google, and again, this Google word, if you Google a property, or you Google the process, California is going to be different from New York. California is going to be different from Texas. California and other states are different, the process. Some use attorneys, some do where they actually, at the closing of it, they'll sit across from the other side, from the seller. So be very careful when you Google how the process goes if you have particular questions. If you have particular questions, feel free to reach out to myself or agent that you've vetted to talk to you about the process compared to where they might have heard about it in another area.
You know, this seminar, we did a basic overlay of everything. And now that we're in a more difficult, challenging market, there's a lot more opportunities. But does that change the overall process? It doesn't. But it does give you a lot of opportunity, like for you to find better things. And me and Vinnie didn't go too diving deep into this because this isn't a sell seminar. This is education. But there is different opportunities that will come to you in a market that's more challenging. And, you know, if you want to jump into a little bit about that, Vinnie, because it is going to be an interesting market the next like 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, well, how we're looking at property is totally different these days. Ideally, 3D tours with your agent going in there, or if the listing agent has put together a 3D tour, they can send it off to you. Looking at that, looking at the pictures, once you look through those different avenues and make sure that the layout of the property worked for you, then getting to the property, we now have a new Corona addendum, and everything I'm telling you now could be totally different a week because it is different from what it was a week ago. So we have a Corona addendum that you have to sign before you can actually go into the property. When you go into the property, ideally 2 people at a time go on the property, then they leave, then the next 2, if there's multiple people going to the property, wearing a mask, wearing booties, wearing gloves. So we're really trying to protect everyone during these times. Selling of a property, now, as you can imagine, when someone lives on the property compared to a vacant property, even the process changes there. I mean, I've seen the other day where for residential property, they were only showing the property with an accepted offer. This is usually done more so with multi-properties or commercial properties. So we are seeing that with properties that people are living in. So that could be something a little bit different on it. Days on market, I mean, you don't know of how long they were allowed to actually show the property. So really understanding what's going on with the property will give you a better understanding of maybe where to price your offer at. So that would, I guess, the nugget in this current time. But everything's changing on a daily, weekly basis. Just make sure the person you decide to work with is up to date on the market, understands what's happening, and understands the terms that you should put into your offer.
And that's if you look at the psychology of the market, talk to some of your friends out there. Somebody thinks everything's going to hell in a handbasket. Other people think we're going to recover fast. Everyone has a different opinion about the market. So you may be able to find someone that sells their house because they think everything's going to melt down. You may get a smoking good deal.
So we do me and David do a market update. We did one last week. We're planning to do one twice a week as going in the future while this is all playing out. But just to give you an idea, over last week, what happened, there was 381 single family condos, townhomes, row homes, attached properties that were put on the market. And do you want to guess how many properties actually sold? So there was 320 properties that actually sold during that time frame, with 263 actually going into contract. So properties are still selling. Don't think with everything going on, people aren't buying or selling properties. That's still happening. So understand the market, be aware of what's going on, so you can put a educated offer out there and ideal terms together.
And lastly, it's for those of you who've been paying attention to the interest rates. Yes, rates are at historic lows. A month ago, we were at 50-year lows, which was amazing. They did go back up, but they are going to tip back down in the future. So the good news is for those of you that waited and were patient, you're going to be rewarded with low interest rates. But don't let interest rates just be the reason why you buy a home. You buy a home according to your goals for the next 5-7 years and all the other things me and Vinny talked about. So don't just buy a home because rates are low. Buy a home because it fits your goals, fits your needs. You know, me and Vinny are here to help you long term. Check out our market updates. It'll go over everything. They're only 10 minutes long because we value your time. And we're really grateful that you actually stopped by and listened to us today.
Yeah, and we love your feedback. We plan to do another one of these. Might dive deeper into investment properties. But our plan is to do more of these as going in the future. But we'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks, everyone. And take a look at our information right in front of you. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to David or myself.